Let's see. We are missing our dreamer. Oh, there he is. Never mind. All right. We've got everybody here.
I was just waiting.
Building the suspense. So yeah, we have everybody here. We can go ahead and get started with this week's AMA. So as is our tradition, we are going to start off going to Frisky Fox.
Thank you, Bolan, and welcome everyone. I think we should start calling these like State of the Kingdom or something. But happy to be here again, and it's been a busy week. There's been a lot happening. As you know, we actually had a mini feature like release. I think it was last Thursday from Beetle. Might have been Friday actually, which was kind of a out of band release that we did because we had some good quality of life things, which I was a little bit involved in, and I was really pleased to see that go out. That was the meditation circle auto select. I was at the point where I had like so many heroes that it was so hard to level them up, and I was like, I need this. So happy we got that one out, along with a bunch of other improvements that I'll let him talk about more. But then, not even a week later, we had this other huge release with the stuff that we added for the deferred payment of like locked crystals, and I think since then we've had I think over 100,000 crystals have been burned in like less than 24 hours after that launch. So that's just amazing. It really blows me away. I think it's going to be a really great feature for the economy and just incentivizing the behavior that we want to see there as well. So that's really cool, really exciting, and I'm excited for the future of that as we add some more things to that system. I was also pretty heavily involved with that one, so it feels really good to have that out the door. Now I can start to focus on other things. Speaking of other things, Duel Season 2 is now over as of last night at midnight. And we are hard at work on Season 3, and we're targeting 2 weeks for that to launch, so that would be February 22nd, tentatively, if things go well. Obviously, if there are things that come up, it might get delayed, but we're not planning on that right now. So I'm excited for that as well. There's going to be some pretty cool new features that I'm going to be working on for that. I had a couple things that I was going to talk about, but there are actually some questions already in the AMA channel about that, so I'll just wait until those get asked by Bolan. Just another note that me and Magnus, or I guess I should say Magnus and I, we appeared on some Twitter Spaces last week too, and those are really cool. I think Pieface, actually, is she on? Nope. Oh, well, she might pop up and talk about it, or else Bolan might talk more about it. But it was really cool to have the opportunity to do that, and there was a lot of attendees, so that was a lot of fun. We also had a really big meeting last week about roadmap, or was it this week? I don't even remember. It's all a blur. I think it was started this week, maybe. Okay, I can't remember. But it was about like roadmap, and a lot of work, a lot of thought is being put into that, and we have some really cool things on that roadmap, which I'm stoked about. But yeah, I guess that's it for me. I just want to say welcome everyone, and thank you for coming. And I'll hand the mic back over to Bolan so we can go through updates.
Awesome. Much appreciated. Yeah, if you haven't heard those Twitter Spaces, definitely check them out. Magnus and Fox were both incredible on them, and there's a lot of really good information, and they're definitely high quality. Highly recommend them. So with that, let's go to Dreamer.
Hi, everybody. I'm excited about the recent addition to our ability to burn things. If we look back at the year, we initially made a plan. What do we need to do differently in the bear market that we are finding ourselves in? And this has been top of mind in many meetings, and excited to find a few creative ways that we initially announced, I think, last week, and have already found a way to implement and put into production. So if you have not checked it out yet, in the meditation circle in Christaville, go check that out and notice a couple other ways to burn tokens as well throughout the features in the game. This is exciting because it isn't only something leading up to like crystal unlocking. This is something that we can scale with the tokens we have, with the realms that we'll have in the future, and find a new way to incentivize and reward folks in the game. So I'm really excited about it. Just wanted to say thank you for those that already supported it in the last day, and hopefully we will find creative ways to make the rewards fun, to have it be something we all contribute to ongoing. On the topic of centralized exchanges, I know that's one thing I've been giving an update on each week. So this past week, after we did the initial run through all of the like target exchanges that we have so far, we went back to our market maker to see if we can get closer to finalizing our agreement, since things are looking positive, not only from our perspective, but as we've talked with various options of exchanges and mentioned the market maker we are looking to work with, they seemed excited and I guess impressed as well. So we have refined an agreement from where it started initially to a point that we are comfortable moving forward. So now we're kind of in the hands of their process. There's kind of KYC and a couple other steps. We then sign an agreement, and then there will be an announcement. I'm not sure if that'll be 1 week, 2 weeks, or more, but just wanted to announce that we have at least internally decided on that option. It's an important step, and when we are through those steps to the point where we could announce who they are, we will. I'm not sure how important that is to people, but there might be some people that are curious who we're working with. So more to come on that. Also mentioned the concept of a legal opinion. We are going to be working initially with our own legal counsel, Ashbury, and going to get their feedback on what to do there for both an onshore and offshore opinion. I believe they're going to be able to provide a U.S. opinion for us, but we're gathering information on that. That isn't like a bulletproof opinion. It is a third party, like exactly that, an opinion. But that'll strengthen the view of a lot of things. And what that opinion is, essentially just reviewing Jewel, which is the token we're looking to ultimately list, and to have an opinion based on other precedents and current laws and the regulatory environment, whether or not it would be seen as a security. So you want an opinion that Jewel is not a security for many of these exchanges to be more confident in listing you. Some of them actually even require it. Like I believe crypto.com, which is regulated out of Singapore, I think they require either a US or offshore opinion even for listing. So some important points on our end. Also some really exciting things that are getting close to announcing that either myself or Sunbear would, but a bit premature this week. So not sure we're going to be dropping any big names or anything this week. Over to you, Bolan.
Thank you, good sir. Let's go to Magnus.
Hey everybody. So this week I've primarily been working on Quest Core V3, which as we mentioned before, we'll be converting to a diamond for that one, streamlining a few things in the Quest contracts, and that will free us up to kind of set the stage for level 10 profession quest and pet feeding as well as some other cool stuff going forward. And secondly, as you all know, security is always our top priority. So we've been working with multiple different partners on that front, both for our suite of smart contracts as well as for the validators on DFK chain. And then I'm also building out some scripts internally to make it easier to interact with Gnosis Safe. Maybe not the most exciting point from the outside looking in, but it's very critical to our kind of internal operations. So making some progress there. And lastly, we appreciate everyone's feedback on the request for comment document we put out. Your voice is tremendously helpful as we consider the best path forward with DFK chain. So just once again, I want to thank everybody for their participation there. With that, I'll hand it to the next person.
Thank you. Let's do Bear of Sun.
I don't think I've heard my name quite like that before. Thanks, Paul. As Dreamer said, there's a lot happening, a lot of neat proposals and possibilities coming, but not a specific announcement that we can put out there today. But I did want to say, like just generally speaking, give you an idea of what our intention is right now, like what our focus is right now, and a couple things that I think come out as themes in some of the relationships we're creating. One, we're seeking out partners who enrich and add to the user experience in our game. So you'll hear, Beetle talking about like in-game chat, for example, or last week we announced, price feeds coming in with the trader, like things that make your experience better, and partners who really add to that. We're also seeking partners who are finding success in the bear market like we are, like finding people, games in particular, protocols that are doing something that's really working, and finding ways to integrate with them, collaborate with them, and market with them. So that's another big focus. And then of course another big one I think is that's showing up as a theme is how do we acquire more players? How do we get into new regions? So working with people in marketing and marketing campaigns that are going to help us do that. So and of course, one last one is just how do we increase the value and utility of our assets, of the NFTs, of the tokens that we have, and finding partners to help us do that. So there's just a quick rundown of our intention and direction. Thanks.
Thank you, good sir. Hubert?
Hey, so let's see. I don't have any major updates at the moment. Kind of just continuing on with the same theme as what has been kind of on my plate thus far, which is, of course, the level 10 profession quest and pets. Continuing to get that work towards getting that ready. The a generic tournament system, and then also continuing to work with Wisdom Labs on our PvP offering. There's just a lot of work going on in the background, and I'm sure there will be a lot of questions about some of that stuff here in a little bit. So I'll yield my time until then.
The Hubert section of the AMA, as we have now started calling it. Beetle Dude.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Hubert, you'll be back. Don't worry. On my side, I mostly spend my days thinking about the roadmap, dreaming about the roadmap, deciding whether I should build the roadmap. No, I'm just kidding. It's coming. I promise. It's coming. But yeah, on the application side, we're continuing to build a whole bunch of stuff. Like Fox mentioned, obviously we had our release last week, or smaller release last week, and then another release this week. And everything seemed to go really smoothly with both, I think, which I'm always happy about. So always want to give big props to our testing team. Everybody, Winston, Zipper, Sasha, everybody, Knights as well, who assist with that. You guys are making our releases better and better each time, which is awesome. As far as future things, we're obviously getting to a point where we're working on bigger features now, which take a little bit more time, which doesn't mean that we're going to stop releasing smaller things like we have as well in the meantime. So we have some smaller items for getting the gardens reworked into our style, our new UI style, to hopefully kind of get rid of all the boxes, the dark boxes that are left over from the very beginning. So that's exciting. I've been seeing more and more green pets, and those are always fun to see. And I think we already mentioned that there'll be kind of a new tier of pet. So those are looking great. I'll just say that. So excited to see the reaction when those come out, and I'll be out there collecting them along with everybody else. But yeah, other than that, just super excited about our PvP progress. Still hard at work on my end looking at in-game chat, which is a feature that I'm really excited about and think will be kind of just a really awesome feature to bring to the community and make it feel more like a game and more like an online game, as it were. Also, So those are some of the things I'm excited about. Obviously, all these things take time, but we're progressing a whole bunch of stuff all at once across all of our different teams. So really great. We have a lot of talented devs and excited for what's to come. That's it for me, Bolon. Back to you.
Thank you, thank you. I assume most of your day is spent trying to keep second best ad in line.
Correct. 50%.
All right. So, uh, before we dive into questions from the talk site, which we will be doing, we had a couple things that we kind of queued up as our own questions. So the first one would be to Fox on updates on the locked crystal airdrop.
Yeah, so I sort of mentioned it a little bit last week that after speaking with Ava Labs about the precompile, which we have a PR up on their repo for, it was kind of decided that it would be better approach to do a state upgrades system because a precompile wasn't an exact fit for the functionality that we were doing. Problem is that whole system hadn't been built yet. So basically, I met with Ava Labs and they sort of like asked us if we would be willing to build that system. So that's what I spent my weekend doing. And so that has been really cool. It's essentially a whole new part of the subnet EVM that allows for network upgrades that are able to do things like have contracts get deployed or updated, as well as state changes and things like that. So that was able to get to a point where our tests internally are passing for that, and we're just trying to finalize any final tweaks and things from like Ava Labs in the direction that they want to go, because what we want to do is we don't want to have to maintain our own fork of subnet EVM for the long term. We would like to sort of like work hand in hand with Ava Labs on that and have the way that we go sort of like reflect the way that subnet EVM repo will go as well. So once we get their blessing on that direction, we will then push that change to our fork on testnet and have that get tested there. And then once the tests pass there, which could be, as early as sometime next week, then we will schedule a network upgrade for mainnet. And scheduled upgrades for those, we usually have to give at least a week or two of like advance notice, because anyone who runs a node that is indexing our chain has to update, or else they will not be able to continue to receive updates on the chain. So when you think about things like DApp radar or crap, what's that other one? I mean, there's like a bunch of other ones out there that basically are currently indexing our chain. And if we were to do this, then they would have to update their nodes as well, so that will continue to work. So we do want to give advance notice on that. We're looking at right now probably a timeline of about 3 weeks until we can get that up. And I know it's been sort of like longer than we've expected, but I think it's really good and smart that we have made sure to be hand in hand with Ava Labs on this, so that we don't have to maintain our own fork long term and can still have all of the benefits from all the security and all of the like new features that Ava Labs is actively working on. So I'm excited about this. I think it's the right direction, and I'm going to be hard at work on this too over the next few weeks as we're able to coordinate that. So that's the update there. Thank you.
Thank you. No, I appreciate it. There's definitely been a lot of work that's gone into this, but it's always progressing. And then so the second question, which is Fox Magnus, both, however y'all would like to do it, is we mentioned yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that we had moved the meditation circle to a diamond standard contract, and that we were really excited about that, and we have more of that coming. So I wanted to take a minute and give y'all an opportunity to talk about what that actually means, what a diamond standard contract is, and why it's beneficial.
I'll take this one too. I'm stoked about this one. I think it was last summer that we first started experimenting with writing contracts that were using that standard for diamonds. Up until then, we had sort of been struggling against a size like limit for smart contracts. So on the Ethereum blockchain standards, there's a size limit of I think 24 kilobytes for each smart contract, and if you go over that, it just won't deploy it. So it's kind of like limiting in what you can do in individual contracts, and you have to sort of architect around that. And sometimes that architecture ends up having to be overly complex or convoluted simply because you can't fit it all into one contract. So we experimented with that for duels. I think duels was actually our first diamond contract that we wrote, and I was the one who sort of like pioneered that, I guess, and then tried to sell everyone else on our team on them, and they like very quickly saw the value of them as well. So since then, we've done a few other diamonds. I think the Magnus, if you could remind me, it's the flag storage, I think, is a diamond, or is there something else?
Yeah, flag storage is one of our diamonds.
Right. So as part of that, we've been sort of trying to create a bunch of extra things around the development experience for creating diamonds. So it's easier to like manage those with multi-sigs, and it's easier to do upgrades and things with those in a very safe and secure way. So we're sort of investing in that standard. The problem is, up until just this last week, we thought it was impossible to upgrade a non-diamond contract that's already been deployed to use that standard over there for diamonds. And I've been asking on the channel for that standard over here on Discord if there's any ideas from other people who have tried that, and I haven't heard anything for the past 6+ months since I asked. So we sort of just assumed that it wouldn't be possible, but then I had sort of a stroke of, I wouldn't say like genius, but it was like an idea, a shower idea or something, that's like, hey, like what if we did this? So what precipitated this was implementing the deferred payment feature for the meditation circle, which was actually full. It was at its limit for size. So we're like, oh, I guess we can't do it for like meditation circle unless we do a lot of like refactoring or something, or else have to launch an entirely new contract as like a diamond. But I was just sort of like spending some time thinking about it, and I was like, wait, what if we did this and this and this and this? And so I experimented with it, and it actually ended up working, that we were able to upgrade that to use that new standard for diamonds. So that's really exciting because that actually opens up the door for other smart contracts that we have that are at their limit. Things like the Hero Summoning Crystal Core contracts. Hero Core itself is also at its limit. So there's a bunch of them that we just have these really core and crucial contracts that we can't really easily create a new one of. Like for hero NFTs, for example, everyone in this audience probably owns a hero, and there's a bunch of others out there that own them as well. And so if we were to create a new hero contract, then everyone would have to migrate, which would be very disruptive. But if we use this mechanism to upgrade the hero core contract to a diamond, then we're sort of like able to add as many like new features to it as we want to, because I guess I haven't actually explained very well exactly what they are, but the standard for diamonds essentially allows you to create a bunch of different smart contracts that are all tied into one address. So in each of those smart contracts, you have a 24 kilobyte limit still with each one, but each one of those is considered basically a facet of the one smart contract. So you can have a facet that will handle, for duels, for example, like we have one that will handle entering a duel, and we have another one that will handle matchmaking, and we have another one that will handle admin functions, and we have another one that will handle the like API side of things. So I think there's like 8 or 9 different smart contracts that handle duels. And for like Meditation Circle now, I think there's like 6 or 7 of them that are a part of that. So that's really cool because we have the ability to basically add any new like really cool features onto the Hero Core contract now that we didn't have in the past, and I'm super stoked about that. So you could see things in the future around like being able to have others have permissions uh, to have some actions get taken with your hero like NFTs, which could open the way to like a champion program or something along the line. So yeah, that's what it is, and I'm sorry I didn't explain it super clearly, but basically, in a nutshell, uh, it allows us to have as much space as we want to within one smart contract address, I guess you could say. So basically, it opens the door to huge future cool features and possibilities. Magnus, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'll just quickly give a big shout out to Nick Mudge, who originally put up the original EIP 2535 for the Diamond Standard. He built it for Avagache, and then instead of keeping it closed source, he was kind enough to open that up, both the contracts and the tooling. So the other smart contract developers in the space could use that, and it's ending up to be like really good use case for like gaming contracts. So yeah, huge thanks to him on that.
Yep. And I'll probably be writing some kind of like Medium article explaining how we did what we did, because I think it's going to help other projects out there too that are in the same situation where they want to migrate to use diamonds, but they aren't sure how. So stay tuned for that probably in the next week or two.
Awesome. Very much appreciated, gentlemen. All right, let's dive into some Talksite questions. So, the first question today is going to be a primarily Dreamer question. So, essentially, I read an article that a South Korean court ruled against the P2E game 5 stars. So, that was a Clayton project. This is actually back from, I want to say 2018, if I remember correctly. And so 20 oh no, that's the wrong thing. Yeah, I believe it was 2018. But essentially a court had ruled against a PTE game on Clayton. And so just asking, how that impacts our plans, our offerings, and our relationship with Clayton.
Cool. I will take this. There's actually a really good article that I found that might be worth sharing. If I drop a link in AMA Voiceless chat, is that a bad thing? I know we don't like links. Do we?
No, that's fine.
That's okay. All right. 1 second.
Any link to like a known source is fine. We just don't like hidden links.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we like automatically disable them or not. So yeah, this is a really good article. So I'm going to try to be light on opinion and more just on like observable facts. But the actual company is called Sky People. They are a Korean developer. So they're first we are not like currently located in or regulated by South Korean regulatory authorities. But these guys were South Koreans creating a game for South Koreans. Their initial ruling was in 2017. They just had recently had an appeal rejected, so that's why maybe this came up now. We were aware of Sky People and 5 stars when we were considering Clayton as an option, and had a number of talks with them on the topic. A few of those discussions talked about, the various companies in Korea, even after this ruling, that continue to make blockchain games, which I think the environment we're in now kind of infers any game that is using blockchain to be play to earn, although many consumers of that knowledge interpret play to earn as the intent is only to have like a gamified financial experience rather than focused on the game itself. So I think it's a term that will probably evolve over time. And even on our side, as we're getting closer to full combat and all the related features there, we'll likely start at least branding ourselves, regardless of what others categorize us as like a tokenized RPG blockchain game. Just like historical RPG games had people that were quote unquote playing to earn as the intent, where maybe somebody hop in World of Warcraft and mine a bunch of items or even their account and then sell it like peer to peer or over the counter or whatever term you would like to use. There's always been that aspect of the gameplay because you spend time to collect resources and craft and get higher levels that others might be willing to pay for. Blockchain technology just makes it easier, but also a lot safer and more predictable and scalable. So the P2E genre, I think, has felt to many regulators similar to gambling. And if you look back at the history in Korea, they kind of have a risk on, risk off relationship with anything related to gambling. I don't know all the specifics, but when I lived there, I think it was during election season, and one of the candidates was pushing hard to re-legalize a form of gambling, and another candidate was pushing hard to make it harder to have any type of like sports betting and so on. So I think in 2017, which was even prior to Clayton's launch, with the many unknowns that were out there, I think they were just trying to make sure at that time that developers local in the country, and this is more my opinion right now, were being cautious with the new technology and to not dive into something first before like other nations do, which is pretty consistent with how South Korean government usually works when it comes to like business in general. But we made Netmarble, NeoWiz, they're all game makers that have continued to create blockchain games, whether or not they're marketing them as play to earn or not. I still think they fall under the genre similar with us, whether or not we choose to call ourselves play to earn going forward. There will be that option always, given the tokens actually carry value and are exchangeable. In the article that I dropped in, there's a couple interesting points here. It looks like one of the things they're focused on is the fact that the NFTs carry value and are traded on exchanges. I imagine this is something that might be open to appeal, not for Sky people, but or repeal, I forget what the right word is, but a change of law. And then the current Korean president as well, last year when he was what is the word, campaigning, when he was campaigning, one of his promises was to abolish the play to earn ban. So he is now the president. These are just kind of factual observations of why we aren't currently over concerned with this precedent, but we'll continue to work closely with Clayton, who, reminder, they're backed by some very, very large names in Korea, which have very, very conservative legal teams, which advise to move forward with this partnership and collaboration, among others, and continue to market their own chain to P2E games. So hopefully that was informative. Tried to stick to like facts rather than saying like, oh, I think we're fine, we're not worried. We're always looking around corners and trying to understand the risks that are out there. Regulatory risks is one of those risks, and it's hard to really predict. But this article does summarize some helpful pieces that I hope gives people some comfort. It has for major players in Korea and our partners, and we'll continue to stay close to it if there are any other developments that might change. It doesn't seem like so in the short term.
Thank you. Appreciate the insight. Let's see. Next question is probably a Magnus question. So essentially, Oracle providers on DFK chain, something basically looking at Chainlink versus Supra.
Yeah, so I can take that one. So I'll start off with addressing the Chainlink side of that question. First of all, Chainlink's a top-notch team that we've had the pleasure of discussing and integration for DFK with for quite a while. As many of you know, Chainlink's they're a huge player in the space and have been providing Oracle services reliably to the entire ecosystem for quite some time. It would be great to integrate their services. However, in our discussions with them, they've asked for things we couldn't give them at the present time, so though we're still very much open to a partnership with them in the future. And also on the super front, as many of you who listened to the Twitter Spaces last week heard, Super Oracles is an up-and-coming VRF and price Oracle solution provider. They were actually recommended to us by another partner who was very impressed with their technical implementation of price feeds. And so we decided to reach out to them about bringing their services to DFK Chain. Their technology is really open, and it makes it easy to go in and verify yourself that the price feed data they're submitting to the chain is actually what's kind of reflected in the outside world on the centralized exchanges. Their price feeds currently include crypto asset pricing, but they do plan to add other cool things like foreign exchange and other kind of like real world assets in the future in addition to crypto. But one of the things that really impressed me about Supra is that they've already integrated both VRF and price feeds on their testnet, kind of like prior to going, or on our testnet prior to going live in production. And I was very impressed with how quickly they got that running. I think after one meeting with them, they had already gotten price feeds running on our testnet, and then the next meeting it was VRF. So yeah, extremely impressed by their kind of speed in doing that. I also add that Supra is very open to welcoming kingdom builders into their Snap program, which basically that gives a reduction in the price for VRF and price feed services for a period of time. I think it's like 2 years and kind of steps down, or the price kind of steps up as it goes along. But it's good like intro pricing to bring people into the using the platform. So if you're a kingdom builder, let us know or reach out to them directly, and we'll get you connected. And we're also, to make that easier, we're also going to be updating our dev docs to include how to call price feeds and VRF. Currently for testnet on DFK chain, but of course when mainnet launches, we'll also be listing those addresses as well. As far as the mainnet launch is concerned, Supra is working through some final changes and some infrastructure hardening before they launch on production in the next month or two. After they launch VRF on mainnet, they'll be integrating price feeds shortly after, and I'm really excited about both of those. Price feeds is really cool because it'll enable some really cool DeFi functionality like on-chain lending, as well as some other kind of innovative DeFi primitives. So we're very excited about this partnership.
Perfect. Thank you, Magnus. All right. Next question. First, I owe Mellow Green Giant an apology. He dropped a question a few weeks back, and we said that we were going to defer it because we were getting close to being able to answer it better, and then it got buried, and I lost track of it. So I apologize, Mellow Green Giant, and thank you for the reminder. So going to his question, it is about the gene rerolls. So basically starting with an example of a hero that he has, a Gen 0 with with an advanced ability and recessive 1 went to dominant that Gen 1. He then mutated that advanced ability into an elite, and then mutated that elite into an exalted. So the first part of the question is, would that exalted ability be re-rolled back to basic, or are genes that got mutated on top of lesser tainted genes treated differently? Sorry, I phrased that very badly, but Hubert, I think you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of it depends kind of statements here, because if you were mutating a lesser one with other tainted genes, for example, then that would still be kind of just considered as tainted genes. Well, I mean, anytime you actually get an actual mutation, we are keeping track of that, and I guess the long story short is, for each legitimate mutation that you get, we'll keep track of that and re-roll to a lower level, so or to a higher level than basic. So, for example, if you had like an advanced gene that you mutated up to an elite on that one, it would then be a random advanced gene for that elite one, and then the advanced one that you initially had would be rolled to a basic. But if it was just a like acquired like exalted gene, for example, that would be rerolled down to basic since it didn't come about through mutations. Yeah, so that's kind of our plan there. We are tracking that degree of complexity with all the genes and how they came about, and do plan to have that kind of built in when the reroll happens.
Thank you, sir. And a second part of that question, any decisions, speculations, or leanings that we can share about how the reroll will be incentivized?
Yeah, so we have made some decisions there. It will be somewhat incentivized, but it'll be a fairly minor thing. Our general plan is to have some minor stat boosts that will be applied to the rerolled heroes. And that won't be only for tainted gene heroes, but for every hero that gets a gene reroll, which is really every hero that exists right now, since we are rerolling the crafting genes as well. But there will be different boosts for the crafting genes versus the tainted ones.
And just for extra clarity, so somebody who rerolls their hero for the crafting genes, but they also have tainted genes, since we're building that reroll together, they would then get both.
That's right. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Next Hubert question. Perilous Journey hero tournaments and the combat skills per class. Will the Perilous Journey tournaments work the same skill-wise as what we're currently building for PvP?
Again, there's I'll just the it depends statement kind of comes into play. Once we get to the point where we have tournaments in place, I think we'll have to look at where we are with PvP. I kind of expect our first offering of PvP is going to be not as balanced as I would be happy with, just because of how complex of a system we're building. So we will. My leanings is to have it be more of the simple tournament system that we had previously talked about, which would be more of a stat-based thing. Still planning to have it be interactive as you're going through it, so it wouldn't just be all random. You would have choice involved, but yeah. So it really kind of is just very dependent on where things are at. If the tournament system or if the PvP system feels fairly balanced, then we may just go ahead and use that instead. But yeah, it'll be one or the other. I'm sorry for the kind of non-answer there, but at least that kind of gives you a sense of where I'm thinking at least. So
That makes sense. All right, got another one for you. Uh, mining quests currently have the least possible rewards out of all the profession quests. There's power tokens or gold, depending on which type of mining, tiers, runes, and eggs. Are we considering adding additional items to the mining quest?
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is more involved. At least in the level 10 profession quests, for now, those will be very similar to the level 0 ones. But kind of the vision with the crafting system, once we get closer to that, is to have crafting ingredients start to be available through all of the different profession quests, or there may actually be like special profession quests, like how you have a gold mining quest, there may be an ore mining quest. Still have to work through some of the details on that, but the general idea though is that yes, you would have, for kind of key ingredients that you need to be able to craft anything, you'd be able to get those through doing profession quests. And then other ingredients would come from doing PvE and potentially PvP as well. So once we get to that point, then you can see things kind of expanding more. But for the time being, it's going to be as you are used to.
expanding on that, because we had another question kind of along that same I'm going to use the word vein, which is funny to me in just a second. So any ideas for having things like gold veins, or various like different resource deposits around the map that would have like limited quantities in them?
Yes, that has been something I've been kind of planning on to some extent. It's I can't really go into details because it's not all the way designed, and we have other priorities at the moment. But the general idea is, once we have traveling in place, it kind of gives us a lot of leeway to have things that are timed events or location specific events, or I guess both, and to do things like that where crafting resources will be available in a specific mine, or potentially gold as well. And whoever can get there and mine it in time would be able to gain that resource, and then it may move, or it may be there might not be one for a little while, and then it'll show up somewhere else. But yeah, that's kind of the general feel that I hope to get us to once we have travel in place and can focus on having a more interactive gameplay experience. That kind of can be what you can look forward to as far as like on a, I guess, gathering side of the picture.
Awesome. Looking forward to that. All right. And the last question, but not least, is a few parts. And Maddie, I hope you're listening. So, some clarification on some PvP terms. All right, here we go. Number one, shield/barrier. Is it the same for all damage types? Does it have a duration? And are the two terms different?
So shield was the first term we used, and we changed it to barrier. So yeah, for all intents and purposes, any document that still shows shield, that can be changed to barrier and have the same meaning for the most part. However, we also have expanded barrier to have 3 different types. There's physical barriers, magical barriers, and pure barriers. So if the name isn't descriptive enough, physical barriers will block physical damage, magical will do magical, and pure will block either. So that's kind of a terminology change. You guys are seeing us kind of releasing things as we're developing it, and there will likely be more terminology changes in the future as well. Like there's already a few on my mind, but yeah, so I mean, as we say, everything is actively in development, so take everything with a grain of salt as we are fleshing everything out in real time.
As we put in the documents, everything discussed here is pre-alpha and subject to change at any time. All right, second one, dispel. I'm assuming this is an anti-cleanse where you can wipe your opponent's buffs off.
Yep, that's the idea with that one.
All right. Spell block. Assuming it's the same as block, but for magic damage, does that also mean that block is only for physical damage?
That is correct. Yep, the block is separated between the 2 damage types.
All right. And the last one is Pierce. Wanted to clarify that Pierce and Block are separate checks and do not affect one another. An attack with Pierce would not be able to get through a successful block, for example. I'm going to start there, and then there's more to it.
Okay. So Pierce isn't actually a check. It's more of a reduction on how defense works. So yeah, if it hits, then the the Pierce will affect how much damage you're able to do. So does that answer the question?
I think so. If not, I bet. So the second part of that, also assuming that Pierce applies to magic damage. So if a hero has magic damage resistance, Pierce could cut through that, and that there's not a magic Pierce. It's all tied together.
Yeah, I mean it depends on the attack, but yeah, generally the term pierce is like if it's a magical attack, it's going to go against the opponent's magic resistance. So pierce just is a reduction on how their defense works. So if it's a magical attack with pierce, it would reduce their magical defense as it goes through, and vice versa for a physical attack.
All right. Cool. Well, that is it there. There was one other question that I wanted to, um, surface real quick. And this can go to whoever wants to take it, really. And then we will wrap up for the day. Um, any updates on the Clayton gas plans?
I can probably talk a little bit to that. So on Clayton, they have a feature called, oh shoot, what's it called? Um, I think it's like fee delegation. And basically what it does is it allows you to sign a transaction and have somebody else pay for that transaction. And so that's sort of a way for them to incentivize apps to come and build, especially games and things that want their players to not have to spend as much gas or even like any gas in like some cases, and to essentially essentially be coupled with that, they have a sort of like a gas rebate program for projects that qualify, and for the projects that qualify, they can receive a like rebate of X amount of gas every month. So if that project were to subsidize like the fees, they could then apply for like a rebate every month on that. So we're still in talks with them about having that get finalized for us to be approved, and also having us have to like create a system that will implement it, because we have to change a lot of things in our app to make that actually work, to where you would basically be signing a transaction and submitting it to us via API. And then you'd have to wait for like one of our executors, which we'd have to build, which would then see that and have it get executed and actually basically front the clay tokens for gas, or at least like subsidize it in some way. And that could look like, perhaps we would say, if you put in a certain amount of Joule into an account, that we could draw from for every transaction that you submit, and it could sort of like subsidize it in Joule. Then at the end of the month, we could apply for that to be like a refund. So that's sort of the plan we've got right now. It's still pretty like nascent, so I can't really say exactly how long that will take. But that's the current approach that we're trying to target. And once that is done, not only will it reduce the cost of like transactions there, but it's also architecture that we could theoretically apply to our own chain as well, so that you could sort of submit or hold a Joule balance or something, and then have transactions get submitted, perhaps even without having to sign them, for like some of the quests and like meditation circle and things like that, because it would basically be like routing through our own API and having us draw from that balance that you put. So there's UX experiences, there's improvements to like the cost and things like that that we're actively trying to like build, basically. So hopefully that answers that a little bit. We're still a ways out, but that's what we're thinking right now, and I do want to be as transparent as I can about the planned approach for that.
Most definitely. Thank you so much for that update. All right, so we are going to go ahead and close out for the day. Before we go over to Dreamer and Fox, I just want to add thank you as always to everybody taking their time to do this AMA with us, and thank you to everybody who's in the audience taking the time out of your day to come and listen to us. We do appreciate all of the questions that get submitted, and having y'all, take the time to ask and hear our answers. But does anybody have anything they wanted to add before we go to Dreamer and Fox? Take that as a no. Dreamer?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add, but I did want to kind of pat ourselves on the back, so to speak, as I was sitting here listening to everybody give updates, watching the community, in the voiceless chat and everything. I just feel like we continue to mature really well as a project, as a development team, and as a community. And the questions are quality. We appreciate them. Seems like the work that we're doing on our side to then come and respond and update and be transparent is being well received. I just wanted to just recognize how well everybody's doing, both in the way that we're updating and the way that we're working individually and together. And I'm proud of this team, those that you see here and many but those that you don't see. And I think we see it in our partnership discussions as well. People continue to be impressed and inspired by us, and there are many teams out there inspiring us as well. So it feels good to find a lot of the, I don't know, joy in these things in the market that hopefully will continue to pay dividends of which way it goes. So thank you to everybody up here, those that aren't, those in the community, and those that will listen to this later. But yeah, over to you, Fox. I won't give a premature bullish this time. I think I did that last time.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, no, it's really been a good week and like really great month and year. And I think it's going to continue to be a really great year as we're hard at work on all these cool features. There's a lot of really cool things on the roadmap, like I mentioned, a lot of cool things, even just outside of the actual product, but just like the ecosystem, the community events and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of really fun things, and I'm excited for it. So yeah, I'll just end by saying that I'm like very, very humbled and like very grateful to be working on this team. We have really smart, really good and talented people, and they are hard at work every day, doing crazy hours at times, on like nights and weekends too. There's a lot of work and a lot of love that is being poured into this project from them. And also the community, all of you guys here are just amazing, and it's really awesome to be a part of this and to have the opportunity to have this get built. And it's really a collective effort. So I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming and for listening, and that I'm super bullish about this year. Bullish. Thanks for coming.
Bullish.
Bullish.
Bullish.